The world is stuck, a never-ending cycle between the Age of Fire and Dark. It seems no matter how many kingdoms rise and fall, no matter how many times it fades, the first flame will return. And with it, a curse. A curse that causes nothing but agony to whomever it brands with its dark sign. A curse of undeath. Those who bore this sign were unable to die. Rather, their fate was much, much worse. Hollowing. The constant leaking of humanity from one's soul, until all that remains is an empty, raging husk. This is attributed to the first sin, an act that can only be described as selfishness by a desperate king, clinging to what little power he had left, even if it was but an ember. But in his final act of desperation, Gwyn would sacrifice himself to this ember, reigniting his flame and casting away the Age of Dark that was supposed to follow. Back home, his children were instructed to shepherd humanity into following his example, even though the Age of Dark, or rather the Age of Man as it was called, was rightfully theirs. Prolonging the Age of Fire was the first sin, or perhaps the real sin was disrupting the natural order of the world. The stories of Gwyn's sacrifice would fade in time. All that remained were the scars he left behind, the fire-linking cycle and the dark sign that forced humanity into submitting to it. With yet another kingdom now facing the terror of the curse, its King Vendrick sought a solution. Whilst he originally intended on linking the fire, he realized that his wife Nashandra was a manipulative shard of Manus, the father of the Abyss who perished long ago. By opening the doors to the Throne of Want, which was where the first flame was located, he would be allowing her access to this sacred flame. And so with time, Vendrick began to realize that he had been lied to. Linking the fire was only a temporary solution to a permanent problem. But what choice did he have? Did he really have to choose between light and dark? Or was there another path for his kingdom to tread? His elder brother Aldia sought the answer to this question. He would dedicate his life to understanding the nature of the curse. We see in his keep that he would experiment on his fellow undead, desperate to shed the yoke of fate. He would capture giants, using them as a means to try and recreate an ancient dragon, the very creatures that used to rule the world in the time before the first flame. Whilst Aldia's methods were cruel, he deemed them necessary, and so King Vendrick would lock him away inside of his manor as punishment. Yet he would continue his research, eventually distorting himself into an ever-burning tree-like mess fused with the bonfire network. Instead of shedding the yoke of fate, he was now bound to it. Yet his research showed results. Gwyn, the Lord of Light, committed the first sin. He is the reason humanity was cursed. He had lied to everybody. Linking the first flame won't free humanity. King Vendrick would eventually seclude himself also, deep inside of the undead crypt. He would rather go hollow than let that spawn of the Abyss take the fire for herself. A new monarch would be needed to take the throne, someone powerful enough to covet the flame. Aldia was aware of this, and now connected to the bonfire network, he was free to seek out this monarch himself. Having previously failed, he saw potential in the next monarch. Perhaps they were the key to breaking this curse. Regardless, Aldia would tell them about the truth that he had discovered, about the Lord of Light's betrayal. And when faced with the Throne of Want, he let them make a choice for themselves, something rarely given to a mere undead. The throne was rightfully theirs should they accept it. But Aldia asked them what they truly wanted. Light, dark, or perhaps something else entirely. A path that didn't yet exist, yet they would seek it insatiably. Aldia's research, his philosophy, and the sins he committed while studying how to break the curse would carve the path that future generations would follow, intentionally or not. It becomes clear that he wasn't wrong, despite failing in achieving his goal. In order to beat the first sin, one must become a sinner themselves. The third path outside of light and dark was a bloody road indeed, lined with the bodies of countless sacrifices. A young painter would seek to create a new world, free from the curse. The blood of the Dark Soul was required, and so Slave Knight Gale would cannibalize the Pygmy Lords to get it, despite them being the reason for humanity's existence, a betrayal of one's kind. The Sable Church of Londor, spearheaded by the Darkstalker Calf, would also seek to break the cycle once and for all. But instead of fleeing the world, they sought to flip the script and crown not a human, but a hollow. The true face of man would usurp the flame, claiming its power for themselves. Yet another great sin, possibly on par with the first. This would align with Vendrick's desire.
Inherit fire and harness the dark. Such is the calling of a true leader.
And would also align with what Aldia sought after. Something outside of light and dark, and I don't know about you, but a combination of the two matches that criteria quite well. Lord Aldia is massively overlooked in the story of Dark Souls, which is a shame because I firmly believe he is one of, if not the most important character in the series. His philosophy of committing sin to combat the greater sin is something deeply rooted in the ending of the series, and whilst he isn't specifically mentioned or credited to this in Dark Souls 3, I find it fitting how a man from a kingdom destined to be forgotten had this much of an impact, a true testament to his knowledge.